Welcome to another episode of the Ice Talks, where we implement change every day. Hey, this is Harold S. Reed Jr., and welcome to another episode of the Ice Talks, where we implement change every day. Today, I want to talk to you. Yeah, I'm getting right into it. No HRJR. I'm jumping right into it today. I want to talk to you today about the concept. No, not the concept. The practice of making an apology. The circumstances around apologizing. See, we live in a society where, at this point in time, it's my observation that people want to, how can I put this? There's a song that the Notorious B.I.G. came out with, obviously before he passed away, where he says, "They pray and pray for my downfall." We live in a society where people pray and pray for the downfall of others, okay? And we've gotten to the point where everybody feels as though they're entitled to some form of apology or remuneration of some kind when another person who they may not even know does something wrong, either just in general or specifically to someone else. Everybody feels as though they have an opinion, they have a say. For example, if, people don't agree with something that a particular artist does or actor or what have you, then they feel as though, because I spend the money to buy your music, or I spend the money to watch your movies, or, I buy the products that you endorse, you owe me an apology for the mistakes that you've made. Let me just say that that's a big, hot, steaming bowl of crap. Okay, that's just how I feel about that. But let me break it down to a more common perspective, in that if you're amongst your circle, your sphere of influence, your friends, your clique, your crew, whatever you want to call it, and somebody does something wrong, somebody says something that offends you, okay, and you want an apology from that person, you feel as though you should be in receipt of an apology for what this person said or what this person did. That's fine if you were actually wronged, okay? And then if the person who did the wronging or the crossing or the habitual line stepping or the crossing of the line, if you will, right? If they did it intentionally, I don't know why you would expect an apology. See, I'm not a perfect person. Contrary to popular belief, I do not believe I'm a perfect person, okay? I'm a person who, having grown up shy, having grown up calling myself a nerd because I wasn't amongst the popular kids when I was coming up, when I was little, I had to find, discover, and then cultivate my own self-esteem. I had to find, discover, and cultivate my own sense of self-worth and self-value and self-discipline, self-esteem, all of those selves I had to discover for myself. Now, it's not to say I didn't have anybody in my life telling me I was a good person or, so on and so forth, but I needed to find those things for myself. And in doing so, when I discovered me, when I discovered the greatness within me, when I discovered the value within me, guess what? I let the world know I'm great. I'm awesome. I'm the But what I also discovered was people in general don't look at themselves that way. And when they see another person shining, by way of their own light and not the light that people put behind them or upon them, that's the person that they fear. And so do I believe that there are people who fear me? Yes, there are some. Do I believe there are people who are jealous of me? Yes, there are some. Do I believe that there are people who secretly envy me because of the freedom that I have within myself to speak my mind? Yes, there are some. And because I freely speak my mind, there are people who may disagree, and on the basis of them disagreeing, feel as though I should apologize to them because I said something that they disagree with. Now, if I say something to offend you, hear me now, listen very closely. If I say something to offend you, I meant that. Oh, I could be very slick and razor sharp about the mouth if I want to. If I say something to offend you, to being the operative word, it is my intent to offend you. If I say something to offend you and I succeed, don't expect an apology, period. F you. However, if I say something that offends you, it may not have been my intent. It wasn't my intent. I was just speaking my views, my perspectives, my truth. Now, you may disagree with that. A person may disagree with that. A person may very well disagree with this podcast that I'm giving right now. However, if I say something that offends you, and it is not my intent to offend you, and you bring it to my attention that you were offended, I have absolutely no problem whatsoever saying, I apologize. That wasn't my intent. See, we can't be afraid to apologize. See, we live in a society where people want an apology for every slight, but nobody wants to give apologies when they do the slighting. That's not logical. We can't function that way. We can't operate that way. If you want people to just, bow down, that's what it is. Everybody wants somebody to bow down to them. Listen, I don't need anybody to bow down to me. This is kind of funny being that I'm in a karate dojo almost every day. But in terms of, boosting up my own sense of worth or what have, I don't need anybody to bow down to me. Listen. And here's another thing. If you do me wrong, I'll let you know. If you cross me, I'll let you know. And the worst thing that could happen is I don't talk to you at all. I just cut you off and stop messing with you. That's how I get down. But I'm not a perfect person. None of us are perfect people. Let's be clear about that. None of us are perfect people. All right? So if someone comes to you and says, yo, what you said offended me, what you said or what you did, that was wrong, I felt offended by it or what have you, right? What a lot of people do is they automatically jump on the defense. Listen, if I say something that offends you and you come to me, and again, listen to my words very carefully. If I say something that offends you, or if I did something that offended you, or that caused you some type of discomfort, whatever, and you come to me and say, what you did cost me this, or what you said made me feel this way, right? If it was not my intent to offend or cause discomfort or what have you, I have absolutely no problem saying, I apologize, right? I'm not going to automatically jump on the defensive. Now, it depends on your delivery as well. You have to know how to apologize, or you have to know not so much how to apologize. I'll get into that in a second. But you have to know how to go about requesting an apology. You can't go with somebody on, level 76 expecting somebody to, in turn be humble to you. See, people want to go, and then expect somebody to cower down. No, if you come as somebody aggressive, if you come as somebody, on level 76, and all you really need is a level 5, okay, just to have a conversation, to find common ground, then, you go with somebody the wrong way, you are not going to get the right result. Now, this just popped into my head as I said it. You cannot go with somebody the wrong way and expect to get the right result. All right? You have to think about first of all, you have to determine if what this person said or did is even worth your time. Why is it bothering you? Something my father always tells me is never let anybody live rent-free in your mind. I can't tell you, man, I've had battles back in the day, within certain organizations that I belong to. And, if I didn't feel something was going the right way, I would tell somebody, and I would listen. I will call you a liar. If you lied, I will call you a liar. I will call you out in public. If you F up in public, I'm going to call you out in public. And as I grow and mature, I came to realize I was spinning my wheels, wasting my time. I'd be sitting home. I'd be home just thinking, when I wake up and I get up on that computer, what I'm gonna say, whole dialogues would be envisioned in my head by the time I could get on my computer and, get to emailing people and whatnot. And you know what? It was a waste of time. It was a waste of time. And what I learned to do when I freed myself from that waste of time and energy, when I freed myself from letting those people live rent-free in my mind, you know what I did? I apologized. So all the brothers that have been reading these posts and, going back and forth with all this, that, and the third, I apologize. Now, here's the thing about making an apology. The person who is apologizing, you cannot, before I get into the person who's apologizing, let me continue, since I'm talking about the person or the people who demand the apology. Let me deal with them first. If you are someone who is requesting, or even demanding an apology from someone else, you have to really be certain of what it is you want. Be honest with yourself. What is it that you want? Do you want them to apologize to admit that they were wrong? Do you want them to apologize to somehow begin to atone for whatever it was they said or did? Or do you want them to apologize just so you can have something over them that you can continue to throw in their face as time goes on? Because we all know people out there, and we may have been in situationships and relationships and circumstances of our own in which we did something wrong, and we may have said, I'm sorry, or I apologize, or whatever wording you want to use. And years later, months later, days later, however much later, that person brought up that exact incident that is supposed to be left in the past. You have to be clear with yourself what you want from this person. All right. And the thing is, if somebody does you wrong and you don't want to even deal with that person anymore, they cross the line that they can't come back from, you wouldn't forgive them no matter what. If you're not about to forgive the person, then you need to cut that person off and go on with your life. An apology serves you no value. I had a situation with a dude where, we had some issues, right? It got a little legal, and when it got to the point of it being legal, people in our circle started to be like, oh, wow, this is serious right now, right? Because dude made it serious. He made it that serious, right? But when it got to that point, me and this individual, we sat with an arbitrator to discuss our differences. And at that point, I said what I had to say. He said what he had to say. And I said, all right, well, you know what? Let's dead it. For the sake of everybody around us, let's squash it. And we shook hands. Now, at that point, I felt as though, first of all, I didn't have anything to apologize to this dude for. Like I said, if I say something to offend you, I meant that. And I ain't apologizing for it. right? And so he and I, at some point, we did have some back and forth. So the things I said, I meant. And I ain't taking, to this day, I won't take them back. But what I did apologize for was the beef overall amongst the circle that we are a part of. But here's what happened. A couple weeks, maybe a month or so after we had this arbitration meeting and we supposedly squash our beef, this dude starts up acting a fool again, talking reckless. So, at that point, F the game, and if that's how it's going to be, then that's exactly how it's going to be. And let's just say, like I said earlier, I could get real reckless and razor sharp about the mouth if I want to. And I put some energy out there that was less than positive. I put some energy out there that was less than motivational. But by the time I was done, dude was coming back to me, extending his hand a couple times, apologizing. No, I don't want your friendship. I don't want nothing to do with you. See, so if somebody does you wrong, you have to determine whether or not you're willing to continue to have them in your life, or if you just don't want to have anything to do with them at all. Now, if you don't want to have anything to do with them at all, and you're going to cut them off, then by all means, rock on. Cut them off and keep it moving, keep it pushing. You know what, dude? I don't even want to hear an apology from you. I don't even want to talk to you. I don't have nothing to say to you. Good luck, good whatever. I don't wish nothing bad on you because I don't want that karma in my life. But other than that, live until you die and keep it moving. Now, if you want to keep that person in your life, if you feel as though there's a friendship there that's worth reconciling, if you feel that there's a friendship that's worth saving and rebuilding upon, because I've had that too, where I said, perfect example. I said some things, and I even like did a whole radio show about it, and the individual that was involved in the situation got mad offended. And again, it wasn't my intent to offend this person, but I could see where he was coming from. So I actively sought out to apologize to him, and say, bruh, I see you mad. I see you upset. This was out of character for both of us. I'll accept my part in it, and I apologize. And I didn't even want an apology from him. Because he has something to play, a part to play in it as well. But it wasn't about me pointing the finger at him so he could go on the defense. I know what I did. I accepted my role in the situation, and I humbled myself to that brother to say, you know what? Here's my hand. I apologize for my part in it. And now we're cool. It took a while. There was some raw feelings. It took a while, but we cool now. You see what I'm saying? So you have to understand that if you want to keep the person in your life, you can't have thoughts in your mind about holding this situation over their head. Now, I'm one to firmly believe, forget nothing. Don't ever forget, but don't leave that situation in the forefront of your mind. Put it in a file in the back of your mind that you can easily access if something starts to look suspect later on in the future. But if you are willing to accept an apology from this person, you also have to be willing to allow them the opportunity to not do whatever it was that they did or not say whatever it was that they said again. That was my circumstance with the first guy the first situation I was just telling you about. We had an issue, we had a conversation, we shook hands, and then from that point, I was like clean slate. And then dude went to show his behind again. I've had that happen with a few people, because here's the thing. A person's true nature is always going to come to the surface, all right? No matter how many coats of polish, this is going to be old school because not too many people know about shining shoes these days, but no matter how many coats of polish you put on a shoe, no matter how much makeup you put on top of your face, ladies, right? Your real you is underneath all of that. And at some point in time, with the fellas shiny shoes, you have to strip all of that shoe polish off. You have to strip it all off. Otherwise, the shine doesn't last as long. Ladies, you have to at some point in time wash your face and get all that makeup out of your skin. Otherwise, you damage your true self. See, so you have to be willing. You have to be willing to let that person be themselves. Because if you let that person be themselves, if they meant the apology that they gave, that will show. Because whatever happened or whatever was said will never happen to be said again. But if that person is giving you a false apology, or they really meant to do or say whatever it was they did or said, that in time will show. So you have to, so again, let them be them. And if you request an apology, let's break this down. If you want an apology from somebody, you have to want that apology for the right reasons, and the right reasons would be because, one, you felt as though they did you wrong. Two, you're disappointed in them for having done you wrong. Three, they're worth still keeping around. So if you can at least offer this token of atonement to me by way of apology, and then not ever doing or saying this thing again, then we have a future as friends or what have you. Okay? And that's how that side of the equation should work. Now, let me jump to the other side of the fence and talk about being the person giving the apology. All right? I talked about humbling myself to someone because I accepted my part in a particular situation that, was not too savory. All right? Again, we're not perfect people. By no means are any of us perfect people. Okay? So we have to be willing. You have to understand that you are going to make mistakes, and people around you are going to make mistakes. Now, when you can own up to your own mistakes, when you can accept accountability for the things that you've done, when you can be the first one to step out and say, you know what, I was wrong. What you're doing is you disarm the world against you. Because again, like I said in the very beginning, we live in a world that prays and prays for your downfall, right? So if you're the type of person that doesn't want to admit when you were wrong, if you're the type of person that when you were wrong and you were wrong and somebody brings it to your attention, you deflect. You talk about, well, what about the time that you da-da-da-da-da? Or what about when they did over there, blah, 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 blah. I remember when I was a cop, if, I'm driving and I pull somebody over for speeding and I'm like, oh, what about all those people? It's like, I ain't catch all those people. I caught you. See, it don't matter if you were in a crowd of 10, 11, 50, 11 people, and all 50, 11 of y'all are doing wrong, but you the one that gets caught, the fact that you was the only one that got caught and those 50 other 11 people didn't get caught doesn't take away from the fact that you were doing wrong. So you have to be honest with yourself. Above all else, to thine own self be true, right? So you have to be honest with yourself. And when somebody brings something to your attention that you know you did, or that you may not have even been aware that you did or said, right? If it wasn't your intent to offend or hurt or cause anybody harm, then there's no shame in saying, you know what, I didn't mean it, I apologize, right? And guess what? There may be times when, you know what, you did mean it because you acted in the heat of the moment, the spur of the moment, the heat of passion, whatever you want to call it. And you may have said some things out of character. You may have done some things out of character. And then later you feel bad about it. And then you want to apologize for it. There's nothing wrong with that either. Now, here is where I tend to stray away from the pack, the norm, if you will. I believe that when I give an apology, first of all, if I do something that I have to apologize for, that's good, that's cool, I have a problem with that. But if I do something I have to apologize for, you get one apology out of me. You get one apology out of me. I'll say, you know what? It wasn't my intent. I apologize. I'm sorry. My bad. All right. After that, I ain't apologizing no more. I can understand if you still have an attitude. If, you know, if somebody does you wrong and they do come and say you're sorry, first of all, understand, and I'm talking about the side that's giving the apology. When you're giving someone an apology, understand that even when a person says, I accept your apology, even when a person says you're forgiven, right then and there, everything ain't, you know, good. Everything is not like clean and dry right then and there. No, the human condition, the emotional status, the state of people's emotions aren't that cut and dry to where I'm sorry, okay, let's rock. No, you know when that happens? You know when that happens? That happens on the playground with 8-year-olds and 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds where they're fighting and scrapping one day, or they're fighting and scrapping at lunch, and then they're playing football together, whatever, in the afternoon after school. That's when that happens. Okay, so understand, when you give somebody an apology, even if they say, you know, all right, it's good, but they still have an attitude, let them have that attitude. Let them have that attitude, because all you can do really is apologize. You know, I mean, depending on what was said or what was done, you know, if you cost somebody some money, you can try and, you know, pay them that money back. I remember the movie South Central, when my man Glenn Plummer said, you know, if you steal something from a man, you can repay that man or give him something in kind. All right. If you use your words to hurt a man, you can apologize to that man. But if you kill a man, it's over. Right. So if you apologize to somebody and they still have an attitude and they still tight, you have to let them be tight, because they was already tight as it was. So them 2 words, I apologize, I'm sorry, you know, whatever 2 words you use, you know, those words aren't going to, you know, just wash away their emotions right then and there. You got to give them time and space to process and begin the process of forgiving you. Right? You can't just be like, well, damn, you still got an attitude? Nah, yeah, they still got an attitude. Of course they carried that attitude for however long, from the incident when it happened all the way up until they approached you about it. And here's another thing. A lot of times people harbor stuff. People carry stuff for months, for years, days, weeks, months, years. People will harbor stuff. People will carry stuff, right? I had a situation with my neighbor. Dude invites me over to his house, gets me drunk, and I started, he didn't get me drunk. He just supplied the means for me to get drunk. And I said some real reckless stuff. You know, we was all joking and we were all drunk. But I said some real reckless stuff that, you know, offended one of his relatives. And they never said nothing about it. Then we had another situation a few months later where his kid scratched my car, and I go to him with the bill, and his wife starts losing her damn mind talking about how I was talking about her relative's breasts or whatever. Now, I vaguely even remembered that situation. And I say to my man, dude, what is she talking about? Oh, remember last summer when you came over and you said, no, I don't remember you. I remember you getting me drunk. That's what I remember. And if that's what happened, dude, why didn't you say anything to me the next day? Why didn't you say anything to me ever until now? Now we got this situation. Why didn't you say anything to me at all? We could have resolved that. Now we got that on top of this, and that situation is complicating this. I was wrong there. Your kid was wrong here. But because you didn't go about resolving that situation way back when, now we had an impasse on how to resolve this. We got to go back and resolve that. And for that, at that time, I said, I don't remember what I said, but if I said something that offended your relative, if I said something that offended your wife, bruh, I apologize. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that at all. It wasn't my intent. And at that point, I was done with it. Now let's talk about getting my damn car paid for. Cause you got some, listen, you got some apologizing and remunerating to do right over here. Right. So we got those issues resolved. But the reason why I say a person only gets one apology out of me is because that's the most sincere apology you're going to get. It's the one that I give you when you tell me that I wronged you. Now, if I apologize to you and you just turn around and walk away and keep it pushing, well, then that's the choice you made about the future of this situation. Because if you can't accept the very first apology I give you, then you damn sure not going to accept the second, third, fourth, fifth. That's why I understand why dudes be running around chasing these women. The women be running around chasing these men. If you did something wrong, say you did it. Acknowledge that you did wrong and apologize for it and keep it pushing. Start to rebuild. But a lot of relationships fall apart because people they didn't want to forgive the person in the first place. They just wanted to humble that person. Not even humble that person. They just wanted to knock that person down a peg or two. They were praying and praying for their downfall, no matter how small. If I can make this person bow down to me in this situation. Listen, none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect. The best we can do is step up and be man enough and be woman enough to acknowledge our periods or moments or points in time of imperfection. When you do something or say something that hurts someone, costs someone something, and it wasn't your intent to hurt that person or cost them anything, there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying I'm sorry. And truth be told, even though this is not how I personally function, there's absolutely nothing wrong with forgiving someone. Yes, I said that's not how I function. It's just not in me to forgive. And excuse me, I know the common practice is for people to say, forgive them and let it go. I let it go. There are people who have done me wrong to the extent that there is no forgiveness. I just cut you off. I don't wish you well. I don't wish you evil. I wish you nothing, and I keep it moving. That is what keeps me safe from worrying about that person ever having the ability to wrong me again. But again, that's how I function, right? But as long as you can apologize sincerely and then not do or say whatever it was you did or said that you had to apologize for in the first place, you should be good. And if you are someone who was wronged and who wants the apology, first of all, you have to check yourself so you don't do or say anything that you in turn will wind up having to apologize for, i.e. going to that person on level 76 when all you need to do is say at level 5, excuse me, you mind if we have a conversation? So that is today's podcast. And if you'll notice, it was a little longer than normal. My normal podcast were usually 15 minutes. Made it happen so we could extend it just a little. So there may be a little more coming, a lot more soon. A little more coming, a lot more soon. I don't know if that makes sense, but you know what? I'm having fun with this. So listen, just be true to yourself, be true to your people, and you should be all right. But if you make a mistake, just step up and apologize. And when someone does give you their apology, if you don't want to accept the apology, that's okay. Just say, you know what? Good luck in life. I'm out. Keep it moving. Right? And if you do accept the apology, you also have to give them, the same way I said somebody has to give you time to process their apology, you have to give the person time to atone for whatever it is that they're apologizing for. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. We become better people when we can step up and acknowledge our mistakes and strive to become better. Hey, this is Harold S. Reed Jr., and thanks again for listening to the Ice Talks, where we implement change every day.